Warning, sassy level red video spotted and coming your way.
Okay people, this is the end of year star-studded soundbar system, super duper rumble tumble fight to the death, big comparo time. Can I get an oh mercy? I forgot my snacks. Gonna put this as humbly as I can. This video was built to crush any other soundbar comparison video that has ever existed or even dared be conceived. Show me another person on this planet brave enough to buy all of these and spend a month making a video other than this guy who did what I'm gonna do and then disappeared off the face of the earth. Hold up, his video got 1 million views. Man, y'all got work to do on this one. So here's what's going to happen. There will be 5 parts. In part 1, I will introduce each of the 5 contenders pulled from my favorite soundbar and ish systems. Yes, 5 systems. That's 1 more than my normal 4. It's true, the perfect comparison used to be 4, but now it's 5. While introducing, I will list the component's debut year, price range, channel count, and provide some context on how the latest version I'll be reviewing differs from its predecessor. To make this as useful as I can, I'll serve up a feature highlight list. You can take a picture, print it out, and mail it to your friends. In part 2, I'm going to cover my 5-ish favorite and least favorite things about each system. This will not include my thoughts on sound. You'll have to wait until part 3, where I'll finally dig in and talk sound on each system and will ultimately rank them holistically, considering profile, detail, precision, sultriness, tactility, intensity, you name it. Keep in mind, it's possible to be ranked the highest, even if it's not the best at every sound facet. I'll break it down by cinema, music, and overall sound quality. In part 5, at the end of this video, I'll judge from a higher perch, where I'll rank the 5 considering everything except price. And I'll close by ranking the 5 considering price. My advice on the best way to dole out Yosh money. While my rankings will obviously be unimpeachable, you may decide to foolishly weigh certain qualities higher or lower than I and come to incorrect opinions about ranking. If you need to rage subscribe and comment over and over and over again to desperately justify your errors, so be it. Let's make this video lively. Now, many of these systems have various levels of surround and bass unit support, some even supporting third-party bass units. I'm not going to review the maxed bass version of everything because that's not the best representation of what the royal you may eventually purchase. The systems will include the best or arguably best surround option and single sub. So a single sub 4, not 2 sub 4s, but also not the sub mini. If a kit comes with 2, I'll review 2. I'll provide some hints on what adding the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th sub does for you if I have it on hand, but I won't rank based on those extras. If you're looking for more detail, I do have full reviews on each of these systems, which I'll link in the description. All right, part 1, system introductions. First contender, a brand that has always led to a video with 6-figure views, even when the video is about as depressing as it can possibly get for an audio product. Well, it's excluded no more. Of course, I'm talking about the $900 late 2023 Bose Smart Ultra soundbar, along with the $850 2018 Bose Submodule 700, and the I'm not quite sure when they were released. Please comment the $400 surround speakers generic, not the 700. Those prissy soda cans and I have parted ways. The total US cost is $22.50, though this price will vary wildly by region, time of year, and by retailer. Assume the same for the remaining 5 systems. Together, this is a 7.1.2 channel system. The predecessor was the Bose 900. The Ultra has the exact driver arrangement, dimensions, weight, and design. The headline upgrade was an AI dialogue mode. That'll get more attention later. The second contender, I'm gonna raise some eyebrows here. The 2023 Samsung Q990C. I reviewed the 24D and the 23C together and was not convinced The D brought a sound improvement, though it got a few more features. I will focus on the 23C but speak to 24D differences, though I want to make it clear now the difference between D and C are not great enough to change my sound assessment, except maybe on the margins, and would not impact my rankings. You can largely consider them the same bar, interchange C and D as you will. Nonetheless, the D got a darker tint, expanded Q Symphony capabilities like being able to pair with a single music frame, which didn't go so well, and supports 4K 120Hz pass-through. If these are crucial enhancements, then you'd probably want the D over the C. They're both an 11.1.4 channel system with a soundbar, 2 surrounds, and a sub. We got the same size, weight, and dimensions, but unlike the Bose Smart Ultra, the C and D bar are not intended to play alone. And that's why all the friends are included in one box. The cost is between $1,000 and $1,500, with the C being cheaper than the D, though I know y'all can sniff them out well below the $1,000 price point, especially outside of the States. You non-Americans always coming at me with, should I buy the Samsung for $315 along with a free TV and a t-shirt? You all got a major deal bragging problem. Third, the most controversial hardware I've ever laid my soft hands on. So many big feelings. Though I'm glad my reaction video soothed and fixed everything, just like I thought it would. Anyway, yes, I'm talking about the newly enhanced 2023 Nakamichi Dragon with two 2024 reworked and rebranded REL subs that I officially own, as I bought the ones they sent me. Okay, half off. They were used, and like you people pass up on a good deal. As a reminder, it's a 5-piece system with a hulky-bulky soundbar that Nakamichi calls the main unit, along with 2 surrounds and the 2 subs that are 3x-ish the weight of the other subs in this comparison. Anyway, it's the biggest and heaviest muscly system with up to 11.4.6 channels. The normal price for the Dragon with 2 12s is $5,600. I know it got as low as $4,800 for Black Friday, but either way, it'll cost you a significantly taller pile of spinach than any of these other systems. It's a gutsy, no apology product that totally belongs in this video. Fourth, the weird one, the different in kind, not just quantity one, the one that moved in a direction competitors should be building on. Sonos. That's right, the no soundbar competitor, the 2024 Sony Theater Quad, or HT-A9 Mark II. Yes, the Quad is a 4-piece set with a control box that can function alone, but in this video will be paired with the 2021 SA SW5 sub, together making a strange 4.1.4 channel system. How a 4.1.4 can compete in the same arena as an 11.4.6? Yes, isn't that something? The 4 speakers enable a squarish configuration as opposed to a soundbar plus surrounds triangular formation. The whole caboodle will set you back $3,200 at the original full price, but I'm fairly confident that it can be found for $2,600 with regularity, as the Quad is often given a $500 discount and the sub often gets a $100 shaved off. Bundling can make it even more affordable. The Quad replaces the 2021 HT-A9. It got a completely new look, transitioning from a jumbo gray water bottle to a fabric sampler. Each speaker got an additional driver, better radios for stronger wireless connections, fewer drop-offs, and a bigger control box with a bigger, maybe even readable display. A worthy successor, a legit upgrade. The fifth, the freshest new car smell one being released late October 2024. The brand I have most heavily invested in personally many times over. The $1,000 2024 Sonos Arc Ultra paired with the co-released $800 2024 Sub 4 and two $450 2023 Era 300s. 2 subs are supported, and I have 2 to throw in the mix, but that will not be my official review system. The system I'll be focusing on as well, I'm not completely sure. I think it's a 9.1.4 channel system, which is the same channel count of the Arc Ultra all by itself. And that is quite a claim. It will set you back about $2,700 if all components are bought separately, though you may see some slight budging on the 300s and the Sub 4 costs, along with discounts when bought together. The Arc Ultra replaces the original 2020 Arc and touts a significant redesign both out and in, though more so on the inside. The headline feature is the new Sound Motion woofer that is supposed to redefine what a sub and a normalish size soundbar can do. The Arc Ultra powered up its dialogue feature with AI, and it also got more Era-like with Bluetooth, a new Era-style control set with a volume slider, and a hard mic switch. All right, 5 pros and 5 cons for each system. The Nakamichi Dragon pros. 1. Its capacity, high channel count, tons of power, bombastic potential. 2. Sub flexibility, handling 1 to 4. It has the most serious sub offering of the group and most number of subs allowed. 3. Supports all the cinema formats, so Dolby Atmos and DTS:X at a pro level, supporting channel counts beyond 7.1.4, which is the limit of what other soundbars can handle. 4. Lots of manual audio levers and ways to control with the remote, on-screen display, and app. 5. Very generous port options, including 3 2.1 HDMI inputs, optical and analog, all treated as separate inputs, meaning you can hook a lot of new and older sources to this thing, which is certainly appreciated if you want to treat this as an AVR of sorts. Cons, the cost. It's prohibitive or just silly to most. 2. Build quality. The main unit has a very easily dentable, bendable, thin grill. A disproportionate number of buyers complained of external damage and non-working speakers upon receiving. The original shipping method was overly optimistic and led to a lot of that initial damage. Nakamichi started shipping components as separate packages a while back, and that seems to have helped tremendously. 3. At least perceived misleading advertising. The original 8-inch dual opposing subs have been a point of frustration, beyond quality and reliability, to include doubts about its reported bottom range, which was advertised as 20 Hz. Which, even if it technically gets down there, it's probably not what you're hoping for. There are other claims that I suspect commenters will comment on. 4. No auto room correction. Gotta figure it out on your own, which is a head scratcher for a system this complex and expensive. 5. A nail in the coffin for many. No internet, no AirPlay Chromecast, no music service streaming, no OTA updates. So yes, a very expensive, controversial, high-profile system that, well, the saga continues. Find links to my dedicated videos on the Dragon in the description. The Q990C and D pros. 1. Andrew Robinson called the D a goat. Goats can really make cool sounds, though most goats cost between $200 and $500. This one, more like $1,000, which is still the best price of the bunch. 2. Tons of sound adjustments ranging from auto room correction to smart sound modes, generous channel control up to a 9-band EQ adjuster in standard mode, the most complete sound shaping suite of the group. 3. Wireless chops. Both can connect to TV over Wi-Fi and still play 3D audio formats, though not always perfectly. The Q990C supports AirPlay and Bluetooth, and the D throws in Chromecasts, for the US at least. 4. Strong integration with select Samsung TVs. Q Symphony for those who want their TVs to join the band. Q Symphony can also be wireless. 5. The benefits of being the 4th and 5th gen of the series. Many bugs squashed, top displays brought to the front, carpet vanquished. Alexa, play music on Spotify.
Here's Spotify.
So, the Q900 series has come a long way since what I considered a fairly bumpy Q950T launch in 2020. Cons: 1. Supports one sub that is commonly regarded as underwhelming. 2. Inputs are somewhat limited. No analog options, for instance. And the C's HDMI inputs do not support 2.1. 3. It's gonna have to be a pretty small town for it to win a beauty contest, though the D darker color is sharper. 4. To get all the Q Symphony features, you have to buy the newest model year Samsung TV. Not sure if this is a bar con, but it's an annoying thing that Samsung does. Any Samsung bar is less likely to get a major feature boost like a Sonos bar might. You get major updates by buying next year's model. 5. There is some history of rear cutouts, but I sense that has improved over the iterations. I've never had much of an issue, but I would like to hear what the commenters have to say. Bonus consideration. Samsung releases a new bar early every year. It's about that time, and because 2025 has a 5 at the end, it's not crazy to think there may be a significant change that will cost a lot initially and reduce by $600 to $1,000 in the following months. Yes, I am aware that many of you will be watching this after the new thing has been announced. The Arc Ultra Pros. It's very new. The Arc Ultra will be relevant in the Sonos ecosystem for a long time. These chips keep getting better. 2. Top-end build. It sticks with plastic, but the solidity, density, rigidity, not qualities that receive complaints. High society plastic, I tell ya. Hear, hear. Cheerio. 3. Quite flexible in terms of the number and price of components you may choose to pair, which ranges from 0 to 4. Sonos sells soundbars that can stand alone and be built upon with various levels of grandiosity. 4. The Arc Ultra has the most deep third-party integrations for browsing and streaming high-quality music direct from servers. One benefit is the ability to search across platforms for albums, playlists, etc. Chromecast does not have this latter advantage, and unlike Chromecast, playing, say, videos on your phone will not disrupt the music stream. This is hit and miss with Chromecast. Sonos is the best at separating a music stream on a Sonos speaker from your phone audio. This is a luxury. 5. The Arc Ultra is the best system of the group for building out a whole home audio solution due to the strength of the ecosystem and the investment into networked multi-room play. Cons: 1. Pricier than most. While Sonos does not sell a component for over $1,000, if you put a bunch of the more expensive options together, it can start to add up, like to 2.7 times the Q990C. Some people would prefer 2.7Cs. 2. We're still dealing with residual bad stuff from the disastrous app and network rebuild, though the situation has improved dramatically. Older speakers can trip up the network, forcing constant updates, so be careful with that. I don't think you'll run into too many bad guys if you're starting with new products. Though if you get annoyed, don't say I didn't warn you. 3. 0 HDMI inputs, so you're at the mercy of your TV to get your lossless data to the bar. It simply won't happen if the TV doesn't have eARC. 4. No DTS:X support, so no lossless or object-oriented DTS. It will be mixed down to DTS Digital Surround 5.1. 5. Weak manual audio adjustment options, so no sound modes. Low resolution EQ adjusters, just bass and treble. Low resolution channel adjustment, so just rear all of it, height all of it, and bass, making it harder than it could be to find that perfect sound if it's not quite hitting. The Smart Ultra Pros. 1. Best looking speaker in the pack. 2. A microphone with a head mount is included so anyone can room correct to their favorite location. And you can finally see how cute you are with a headband. Oh, like you haven't wondered. 3. Better than average integration with other Bose products with the grouping function. So expand your sound to other rooms with other Bose speakers, and even use these open earbuds to handle the height and surround parts of the sound. Pretty cool. 4. Bluetooth, AirPlay, and Chromecast, all 3. 5. Dual wireless sub support. You can also add a second powered sub with the sub out port. There are some complications. I'll get into it in the sound section. 6. We got a bonus. I've been informed by my neighbors that Bose was invented by the best audio engineer that ever lived. My kid's school district, top notch, very competitive, especially on the STEM side. That's all I'm going to say, other than pretty strong chess players and spellers. I don't know what you're implying. The cons. 1. There is this nagging tendency for Bose soundbars to not want to make sound. It continued to be a bad issue from my Smart Ultra video from last year. Less of a problem this round, but there would be instances where I would go into a screen on the app and sound would stop, and I could not get it back without pulling out and replugging the HDMI cable. 2. No HDMI inputs. It suffers from similar personality challenges as Sonos. 3. A dramatic reduction in remote prowess that reflects a move towards lifestyle, but in all fairness, the remote is less likely to lead to divorce. 4. Strangely miniature surround options with no upward firing drivers. You got these obnoxious receiver bricks and you have to do old school wiring. It's very due for an upgrade. 5. No DTS, not even the lossy kind. All of it's lost. The Sony Theater Quad Pros. 1. True wide separation up front. That's a big one. 2. Top-notch room correction with sound field optimization and 360 spatial sound mapping that really brings a remarkable technical precision. 3. Reinforced hardware to keep the speakers stable and buffered enough to maintain high-quality audio. 4. A living room friendliness in design that may lead to less resistance before you get the nod. 5. Supports all the audio formats. Your Blu-rays are safe. Cons. 1. No center channel. In the box at least. You can leverage Sony TVs to act as an advanced center channel with acoustic center sync. I have yet to hear the wonders of this feature on a worthy TV like the Bravia 9 that I do not have. 2. Limited manual audio controls. Options to do the sound field optimization thing is the meat of it. 3. For those that want to be knocked to the back wall with power, this system doesn't really have those muscles. This system requires that you plug in 5 things. 6. With a sub, you may not have outlets in all those places. 5. The control box is skimpy with just one HDMI input. While still slamming Sonos and Bose for their 0 inputs, 1 solves a problem, but can still lead to inconvenience if you're insistent on going through the box. The sound. Let's start with the Dragon. Why not? There's a lot to say. I think it's fair to be however annoyed, mad, sad, raged you need to be that Nakamichi hasn't lived up to the spirit of their marketing claims. However, the new 12 hits 30 Hz the smoothest and with the most authority and tactility of all the soundbar subs, and has a very satisfying, attractive, natural 30 Hz resonance. The Dragon supports the best bass with a first-party sub, and it's not all that close. The main unit and surrounds, though supporting the advanced versions of Dolby and DTS, ultimately is not an exceptional 3D audio delivery mechanism because of the somewhat narrow diffusion from the Dragon drivers. Of all these sound systems, you get the most volume change by moving off center, so if you were reasonably thinking there was going to be a 3D audio breakthrough, the Dragon falls short. The Dragon does provide exceptional high-frequency clarity with the AMT tweeters, which will offer detail and vocal intelligibility in a manner you would not be used to with the soundbar. The main unit is naturally trebly, in part because the woofers are not tuned to go much below 150 Hz. I have discovered that dropping treble levels can help with balance or keeping the sound from becoming too prickly or stingy without giving up that high frequency advantage. I also set the surround and height channels higher than I might with other bars that are more naturally diffusive. A consistent concern is that the Dragon will shift volume levels dramatically. This does happen. Part of its charm, I guess. So the main unit clarity and dialogue is a standout. The 12-inch sub is a standout. Putting two together exaggerates that advantage. But I'd argue that perhaps a co-equal gain with the better sub is the option to utilize 4 separate subs that can live in 4 different locations. The .4 in the middle is far more useful when in 4 boxes, not 2. Who knew? Almost like that would have been a good starting place, but credit for getting there. The 4-corner arrangement, which is not my official review configuration, just brings a depth to the front and rear that you just don't get anywhere else in soundbar land. Fattening, intensifying, menacing the impacts and directional effects. You know when a person is thrown your way, a car is flying at you, your body is brought more into the physicality of the scene. My take is that 4 subs transports you to a sound that is most close to the spirit of the marketing campaign. The thrill factor, it's an experience. The 4D immersion that, yes, will probably involve some loud sounds, but I do not subscribe to the idea that it's only loudness getting the heart beating. I think that's pure silliness. Jack up any of the other systems, they get loud too. It's different with the Dragon. Music was noticeably improved with the new bass. It melded all the way down. I was surprised how much of a difference the extra bass competence made. I still think you're going to get the most wins with modern music with a spatial format over HDMI, but definitely worth exploring again. I had fun listening to the Apple Music Spatial Audio playlist, old stuff, new stuff, treats for your multi-generation gatherings. The Dragon continues to be a polarizing product, and I can understand arguments from the different sides, but even with all the history and baggage, it does open up experiences the other systems can't. It has a superpower. The Q990C. You know, I think Samsung, this being their 4th try at the thing, really got the sauce tasting pretty good. I started reviewing soundbars, I believe, the month the first of the series, the Q950T, came out, so the Q900s have taken up a lot of my attention. The bar has an admirable soundstage and a forgiving sweet spot. The general dispersion on the bar and surrounds draw a stark contrast from, say, the Dragon, that is more or too direct in its delivery. The overall sound is well balanced due to all the room and sound correction technology. The profile is fairly flat, so not too much of that funny business that may alienate listeners that want a smooth ride even through the mids. The surrounds hold their own and complement the bar, in particular if you can position them behind you. With proper positioning, there's an element of coherence that can make this system sing. While this system practices restraint, it's far from meek. The Q900 series and the less popular Klipsch Cinema 1200 were the big sound kits before the Dragon came along. Lots of extra volume you will likely never need. 3D sound objects and height effects are present, accounted for, but certainly not miraculous. In part, it's just a soundbar up front, and my impression is that Samsung shies away from harshing, hyper-processing, and ultimately sacrificing the overall sound just to elevate height effects. Similarly, directional effects, left, right, front, back, are easily detectable, but the cinematic impact, the hit, dynamic range, shape of the motion, I think is middle of the pack in this elite group. Dialogue is handled well with a 3-driver dedicated center channel and active voice amplifier technology that listens to sound in your environment and amplifies dialogue accordingly. An extreme example may be a vacuum. If your room is quiet, you'll get less help. If dialogue clarity is a tippity-top issue, 80% of what you're looking for, I would not point you to this bar, however. If you're coming from an older soundbar or you raw dog TV sound, TMI, this kind of system is going to be a revelation. You'll be surprised what these soundbar systems can do. I think you'll have trouble being disappointed. To my aficionados, if you're downsizing from a home theater and you get this bar, you're gonna make a comment that reads something like, "It's not as good as what I built when I lived alone and had a lot more testosterone, but the lady's happier now." The soundbar fanboys that are keeping track of the new ground being broken across the different brands may get frustrated that this bar, at least on any one piece of the sound, is not the winner. It doesn't win front separation or 3D audio, clarity, physicality, dialogue, but it holds up quite well on each of these dimensions. I'd say the most discussed weakness is the bass unit. The online chatter is more negative than my take, but it only supports 1, and the 1 is 8 inches. I agree it's not a standout, but I don't consider it an Achilles heel, though peaking at 30, not 35 hertz would be a meaningful improvement for the next version. Music is squeezed out in a perfectly acceptable, agreeable form, but it's not particularly memorable. It's not gonna leave a mark. Music is well imaged, and I often noticed virtualized instruments placed in different areas around the room, but the tone and attitude does not sound as at home as it does with cinema. Ultimately, the limited spatial separation up front does not help, and I'd say it lacks the tenderness and warmth to really beckon music play. Music is simply not the reason you'll fall in love with this system. As mentioned, no one sound dimension soars, but nothing sinks well below the pack either. Pars and birdies, no eagles, but a fine game. Oops, I almost forgot. What about the C/D sound difference? From my hearing, it was slight. The D emphasizes the extremes more by default, which heightens drama, but my experience was that this led to the C sounding a bit more full and pleasant, though less detailed. However, minor manual EQ changes nearly void these slight differences. The meaningful differences between the two were features, not sound. The Sony Bravia Theater Quad. It's not hard to see how this system is different and special, but can the head-scratching speaker form factor deliver the goods? Top line, happy to report, no sound cutouts. That's a great place to start. My sound assessment was decidedly yes earlier this year, and well, I guess I'm stuck in my ways. I haven't budged much. With the front separation coupled with the sound field optimization and 360 spatial sound mapping, this is your soundbar-ish product for maximizing spatial accuracy and realism, period. Want to get closest to eating junior mints right in the middle of the action? This is the one. With the original A9, the sound's core was somewhat wimpy and bass kind of non-existent. The A9 without a sub was a woeful mistake. You're still going to want to get the best sub compatible with the quad, the RS5, but there are more drivers in each speaker, and it does wonders in filling out the lower mids. Inject some warmth and resonance that just couples so uniquely and delightfully with the spatial prowess. All this with funny-looking speakers that look more like they're built to stop sound than make sound. While I've never suffered from missing center channel syndrome with this system or its predecessor, or plain stereo systems for that matter, there's still nothing like a real center channel. You can get a really complex one with a compatible Sony TV with acoustic center sync. It would be so rad to use a soundbar for this purpose. It would. It would. You can't. Due to the symmetry of the quad, it does yearn for at least one more sub to reinforce the balance, bring you some more cinematic intensity by seating you more firmly in those undertones and giving the directional effects more authority. Not surprisingly, music was enhanced on the quad over the HT-A9 by fattening the horizontal channels, making a huge difference. Enjoy some Sinatra and Nat King Cole this Christmas with the fire crackling. The front-wide separation brings a welcomed traditional touch in a modern context. On the sound side, not many complaints, but I'll be a little less nice for a second. I have an expectation that Sony will dispense with that alligator leathered SW5 a feet woofer with a proper sub that can reignite my passions. Well, anyway, I'm glad we have an understanding. Whoa. Oh, what just happened? That is one sneaky Southern gentleman dictator right there. The SW5 submodule. I've always been more or maybe less fine with it, but it just isn't special. Like the quad is special. Never quite hitting those lowest tones with enough shape or authority. I'm still waiting for a conversation piece, a sub you're excited to pair with the quad. A Sony wireless sub that really knocks it out of the park would make a great thing better. I hope we get there soon. The Arc Ultra. The Arc with the Era 300s was formidable. One of the most exciting soundbar accessory hardware developments in 2023. Replacing the Arc with the Arc Ultra really moves the ball forward. Like the Q990C/D, this setup doesn't really win on any particular sound category like spatial precision, vocals, physicality, channel separation. But it does admirably well in all of these categories and does have the most exciting rear sound speakers with the dipole plus height driver configuration, widening the rear soundstage, electrifying the vertical effects, and delivering some surprisingly low tones for a soundbar rear speaker, which brings a unique level of intensity. Unlike the Bose Smart Ultra, the Arc Ultra is a complete rebuild, even if the outside changes are not super dramatic. Sonos' investment in Might, a company that wants to make low tones in small packages, really paid off with the Sound Motion Woofer. It really set a new bar for what a sub that fits in a regular-sized soundbar can do. The boring types might even say it do too much. Way more bass presence in the Ultra than the original Arc. Beyond the Sound Motion Woofer, the Ultra reinforced the front, giving it 2 more woofers and replaced all the surround and height channels with tweeters, clearly signaling a new emphasis on 3D audio performance. As I mentioned in previous videos, the Arc Ultra brings more of that Era 300 firework energy to the front, filling out the lower mids, upper bass, high calorie range, widening the soundstage and energizing vertical effects, bringing something closer to parity with the Era 300s. I'd say contributing to a more matched, perhaps balanced front and back experience. Last year, by a hair's breadth and with some hesitation, favored the Q990C over the Arc with Era 300s, mainly because the Arc fell short and led to an odd situation where the Arc seemed subservient to the 300s, and it just cost so much more. The Ultra corrects this and offers a stronger experience than the C, I'd say, on just about every point, including the Ultra's sonic capacity, flexibility of surrounds to sub option, and number of subs supported. The Era 300 front tweeter does not play when paired with the soundbar, a point of annoyance, I know. The Arc Ultra AI dialogue feature has 4 levels: off, low, medium, and high. The AI mode is obviously far more sophisticated than the regular dumb mode. I tend to imagine regular dialogue modes as this rage monster who's like, "You want your dialogue? I'll give you your dang dialogue." If it's a plate of food, the dialogue meat got all the fat taken off and the rest of the dish has been aggressively tussled. In those loud effects, high dynamic range, mumbly, naturalistic acting movies, I might opt to activate the low setting for a little assistance. Otherwise, I found the mode unnecessary. Get back to basics, Hollywood. We wouldn't even need all these dialogue fandangos.
I hate rude behavior in a man. Won't tolerate it.
In perhaps older movies where the mixing was not as shimmery clean, I might opt for AI dialogue low mode, which helpfully raised the voice and more or less kept the rest of the sound unharmed. Otherwise, I heard it as unnecessary. The 2 extra woofers in the front gives music substance, not just tingles and thumps. If you're inclined to play music on the Arc, I think you'll do it even more with the Ultra. The new Sub 4 performs quite similarly to the Sub Gen 3, perhaps with a slight volume jump. But otherwise, like the Dragon 12-inch Sub, it peaks at 30 Hz. Unlike the Dragon 12-inch Sub, it's not particularly physical. Again, we got a sub that is really nice to have. It makes a world of difference, but is not a clear standout, not a point of excitement. I hope Sonos gets there. I do recommend getting 2 Sub 4s or adding a 4 to your 3. It intensifies the sound and delocalizes the lowest tones. If you do go for 2, be playful in your placement. You can try putting both up front for sure, like I do for looks in part, but also, try the side of the room to broaden the distance between noisemakers, which makes the sound bigger, or try front and back arrangements to deepen the sound in the vertical direction. The Bose Smart Ultra. I'll admit I was hard on this bar in my review last year. I may soften that a bit. Some of my disappointment, and maybe it's not completely fair, is its fairly weak differentiation from the Bose Soundbar 900 that was released 2 years earlier. It came across like a branding update with a fancier dialogue feature, but was advertised as this new great next-gen Ultra thing, where the Ultra branding did mean something significant in the headphones, at least. Even Samsung, on a 1-year update schedule, not 2 as with Bose, changed the color and updated the inputs. More Q Symphony abilities. But I have also been underwhelmed by the 700-900 Ultra bar size and aging miniature surrounds, along with the frequent refusal to play sound when the TV was turned off and then on. It was less of an issue this time around. And the no HDMI input and 2x the price of the Q990C, etc., etc. Bose is doing a lot of passive-aggressive things to those who have a Bose brand loyalty. I have big feelings for you guys. All right, that being said, it's remarkable what Bose can do with such small packaging, and maybe that's the whole point, and I'm missing it. The technology utilized to achieve the sizable sound is impressive, period. Near magic as far as I can figure. I listened more in my basement this time, and it impressively filled a big space. One quality that really strikes me is how the Smart Ultra seemingly electrifies the air, filling it with kind of an explosive energy, foreground and background effects given their due. The rear speakers come across as ninja-like and sharp, assisting in whip-cracking clear hits and directional effects. The phase guide tweeters maintain a healthy level of sound widening that play a huge role in the Ultra's caffeinated personality. Whenever I fire up this system, I get a hit of that stimulant, and it feels good, but as I settle in, I slowly realize, remember, notice, I'm passing up on a fuller, more rich resonance, along with a greater presence and precision in height effects. The rear speakers do help a lot in this regard, but with the mini one-channel form factor with no upward firing drivers, you lose the rear vertical fireworks you get with, say, the Era 300, and you miss out on the hyper-realism and wow factor of accurate height effects moving from one side of the room to the other. In the end, it's remarkable, not miraculous. I did notice with some regularity that the low end with the sub could creep in volume and step on midtones and dialogue. room correcting and some EQ fiddling will attenuate this tendency. Though dialogue in general is quite clear on this bar, I found myself typically keeping the AI voice feature active. As AI voice features tend to do, they do not impact the whole of the sound as much as dumb dialogue modes do and are generally more reasonable to keep active. It's a decent feature. It highlights voice in an overall aesthetically pleasing way. But a whole new bar it makes not. You can bring your own powered sub for a more physical low end as there is a sub out. I didn't test 100 different subs, but I found the Klipsch R100SW worked quite well. It even synced with the app and was an inexpensive route to deeper lows. In contrast, my SVS 3000 micro sub would show up for a few moments and then cut out. So if you're gonna add a third-party sub, proceed with caution. So what about that non-ultra sub-module 700? While none of the buy separately subs I sense break the mold or are impressive enough to strike a really interesting conversation, besides the Dragon's new sub, perhaps, I would give the second tier prize of the subs in this video, which includes the Sony SW5, the Sonos Sub 4, and the Bose Sub Module 700, to the 700. Not only does it have an admirable crossover, really making it difficult to assess where the Smart Ultra ends and the 700 begins, its low frequency attack feels the most impactful, most soulful, most crafted. It's still not a bona fide bruiser, but you do feel it in a way you don't with the others. It's a half tier above, perhaps. Music. Despite the lean middle, Bose executes its case quite well. This system can get that booty moving even if that was never your plan. Though I do think the way this bar is tuned, it sounds most at home playing modern music with crisp highs and shapely bass. Older tracks will not lock in as neatly, but thou shalt at least check out the music capabilities. You'll be surprised what the Skinny Mini can output. For those seeking the outer limits of what a soundbar can be, the Smart Ultra has seeds of that. I'm rooting for Bose to take their technology and upscale it a bit. I'd like to see a more substantial bar, but if that's just not in the cards, do something really clever with the form factor. If you can bring some height and low end to the back with a bigger speaker, the Bose fans are really gonna have the goods to make some noise, and I'll endorse that noise. All right, part 4, ranking for cinema performance. I'm awarding the top spot to the Quad. The 4 corners and the fortified speaker makes this system very difficult to beat if you're a soundbar. Second, the Dragon. The physicality and force and top-end detail is special. The most thrilling moments I had this year reviewing was the Dragon with 2 12s in the front and 2 8s in the back. Even so, the Quad is more consistent, keeping me immersed and happy across the whole movie. Third, the Arc Ultra. Great cinema system, just missing the Quad and Dragon superpowers. It's come a long way from the Arc with ones in 2022. Back then, I ranked it last amongst the elites in this category. This setup would be first easily amongst that group. The industry is making progress. Fourth, the Q990C/D. They're outclassed on most, if not all levels by the Arc Ultra, as should be the case given the price difference. Last, the Smart Ultra. The system ultimately suffers from size and the limits thereof, so issues with fullness and 3D audio affect precision and movement, ultimately placing it below the C. This system has the spirit or the workings to move higher up this list, but that would almost certainly require hardware updates. To soften its last position on this very official, influential ranking, I do predict significant arguments on its placement, suggesting that there is an ineffable element, something to this system that can make it difficult to definitively place. Music ranking. First, The Quad takes it again with the wide front separation and reinforced speakers. I'm a simple man from a simple place. Second, the Arc Ultra, Sonos Music DNA supercharged along with the Era 300s is a potent combo. I really digged the spatial audio playback. Third, the Bose Smart Ultra, also dripping in music DNA, but has let Sonos steal its Riz or drip with its updated hardware and a more satisfying sound. I'm committed to expanding my vocabulary. Fourth, the Dragon, placing it over the C/D because of bass prowess, which is a really cool trick for soundbar music. Fifth, the Q990C. Someone has to be last, though last in this group is not as insulting as being last in less cool groups. Play music on the C to make it feel better. It went from first in 2022 to last in 2024. Great. Now I feel sad. Got a late ad, my dialogue rankings. I think all of these systems are perfectly fine. This ranking is not how beautiful the voices sound, but how easy it is to make out what the good-looking people on the TV are saying. Ranking the overall sound weighting video music about 60-40. First, the Quad. Second, the Arc Ultra. Third, the Dragon. Fourth, the Q990C. Fifth, the Smart Ultra. The Q990C and Smart Ultra are really close and could probably swap positions based merely on how spicy my lunch was. Okay, people, part 5, wrapping this up. Complete system ranking, considering design, features, reliability, longevity, and sound. Not counting price just yet. First, the Quad. As you might be catching on, I'm highly charmed by its wide open sound. It's least sensitive to funny rooms with its layout and sound field optimization tech. It's less reliant on bouncing sound off walls. It has a wide feature suite, including a 2.1 HDMI input, AirPlay, Bluetooth. It supports all the audio formats, even high res. It has a solution for a center channel, though I don't think it needs it. It has beefed up radios for reliable playback. It performs well with TV, movies, video games, music, old and new. A curious design for sure, but perhaps a conversation piece. Second, the Arc Ultra. It's very new and Sonos keeps their equipment relevant longer than most, meaning there is a long future of meaningful updates. I dig that there may be opportunities to enhance further down the line, perhaps swap out a component for a better one, then reuse the old component in a new room or get a decent selling price. The Era 300s and Might Woofer are two, if not quite superpowers, enviable highlights. Rears with the most dynamo and soundbar with the most bass that still has its uses, even when paired with a sub. It's adept at TV, cinema, and music. It can browse and stream high-quality music in the most elegant way. It's good-looking and has well-built components, just lacking that physical front separation. If only Sonos was a company that offered a variety of speakers that could serve that function. If only. Third, the Dragon. Again, my highest highs this year was with the Dragon, but those highs are largely restricted to action movies, and even more so, the action scenes, and even more so when playing via Blu-ray. The Dragon advantages are largely muted in lower quality audio context like live TV and sports. Music was reinvigorated with the 12s, but still not a standout in this group. If you have the 8s, I'd hold on to them and place them in the back. The 4-corner sub arrangement unlocks a new dimension in those action scenes that the other systems simply cannot match. Greater diffusion from the drivers, internet connectivity, and a more robust build quality would go a long way in any future versions. The new base units should be considered the new build standard for any Dragon follow-ups. Fourth, the Q990C. It's a very well-considered product without a sound superpower. Seems like the closest is that it gets really loud, or maybe that it's widely palatable. There's safety in this choice. The sound is quite good and serves well across different formats. I would say the 3 previous higher ranking brands all took risks and offered the customer something unique. They broke ground. Samsung plays to the masses, and they consistently elevate what a $1,000 soundbar system can do, limiting what might be considered major weaknesses. The C, I sense, has a slight edge on sound, coming across a bit more rich. The D, the edge on features, but I'd put them in the same spot. The Samsung strategy doesn't get you placed high on this list. Fifth, the Smart Ultra, if it was on the stylish minimalist list, would be first. It's impressive the hardware can be on this list at all with the size of its components. That's its superpower, though the rears have some hidden chunky complexity to them, which is deceptive and annoying. The missing HDMI input and no DTS is a mark down, and while I always seem happy with the Bose sound initially, with more and more exposure, I hear how it masks its limitations. Say the undervalued middle tones, maybe it leans a little too modern. It can border on harsh, the overwhelming bass at times. I see the sleight of hand, which knocks it down a peg. Overall ranking, considering money. Not going to justify myself much because I've grown weary. Comment and ask questions. Tell me why I'm brilliant. Gonna reveal it backwards to keep it spicy. Fifth, the Dragon. It's a luxury purchase for a specific task, and that's okay. Fourth, the Bose Smart Ultra. Third, the Sonos Arc Ultra. Second, the Quad, assuming a comparable price to the Arc Ultra. And first, the Q990C. It's an excellent system in the $1,000 range, Samsung's superpower. If you have been lingering around my videos and made it this far on this marathon, just take the plunge and subscribe. You earned it. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.